Hi guys. All right, we're going to continue our ACT prep work for the English portion of the ACT. A lot of the work we've been doing has been on MUG, right? M-U-G, mechanics, usage, grammar. There's another kind of question on the English portion of the ACT, and that's called rhetorical skills questions. So rhetorical skills deal with oftentimes like the whole paragraph or the whole essay, and whereas mechanics, usage, and grammar usually deal with the sentence. So here we're going to be looking at bigger picture things instead of tiny little nitpicky details like where does the apostrophe go. These are bigger ideas about the writing as a whole and what does it communicate. All right, so these set questions sometimes look like the mug questions and sometimes they look different. So let's look at one here that looks like a mug question, pretty similar to one. So we have an underlined portion, cared for, and it has a 65 under it. So here, question number 65. Which choice best emphasizes that Paucton's bees lead healthy lives at their opera house location? All right, so it's a little different than a mug question because it has an actual question. It goes with it instead of just four possible answers. All right, so which choice emphasizes that the bees lead healthy lives? All right, the bees lead healthy lives. Is it cared for? Does that tell us they lead healthy lives? Cared for? Thriving? Would that help us understand they lead healthy lives? Present or present or noted? Which one do you think of these four options best indicates that the bees are living a healthy life? Let me give you a little hint. I would immediately omit or delete or disregard, ignore C and D, because present and noted have nothing to do really with leading a healthy life. So which best indicates a healthy life? Cared for or thriving? All right, hopefully you said B, thriving. If you're living a healthy life, you are thriving. Yes, you may be cared for, but isn't thriving the stronger, better word? It communicates this idea more strongly. All right, so sometimes it'll say best, and two might be correct, cared for and thriving, but thriving is the best answer here. All right, let's look at another rhetorical question. I'm going to try the same strategy. I'm going to look at the underlined portion, and hopefully that's enough to answer the question. If it's not, sometimes I'll have to go back and read the whole sentence, but let's try this first. Moving up and down. All right, I don't know what that means. I mean, I do, but I don't know what it means in the context of the story. But moving up and down, let's see what it says. The writer wants to emphasize that janthinids move by drifting passively under the surface of the water. Given that all the choices are true, which one best accomplishes that goal? All right, before we get into answering this, I want to point this out. It says, given that all the choices are true. So this means just assume all this is true. You don't have to know anything about janthinids. This isn't a question about your knowledge of janthinids. Instead, this is a question asking which one best accomplishes the goal. And what is the goal? Well, the writer wants to emphasize that these things move by drifting passively under the surface of the water. So which one of these, A, B, C, or D, tells us that they drift passively under the surface of the water? Is it moving up and down? Is it their bubbles peeking through the water's surface? Is it C, wherever the water and wind take them? Or D, often in groups that travel together? So when you drift passively, right, that means you're not doing anything to make it happen. Something is making it happen for you. This is happening to you. You're not putting any effort into it. So I am going to right away get rid of B because B doesn't seem to have anything to do with these janthinids moving. It talks about their bubbles breaking the water surface, but not how the janthinids move at all. These other three do kind of talk about how they move, moving up and down, wherever the water and wind take them, or often in groups that travel together. What do you think is the right answer? right, so hopefully you said C. Wherever the water and wind take them, that would be moving, drifting passively. The water and the wind are doing the work, right? The water and the wind are moving the janthinids around. They're drifting passively. All right. Here is another sample question. This one, we're going to look at 64 here because 63 is an it's question, so that's a mug. We've already talked about that. 64, packed with icebergs. All right, if the writer were to delete the underlined portion, adjusting the punctuation as needed, the essay would primarily lose what? All right, so let's talk about this question. First, it says, I want to point out this, adjusting the punctuation as needed. So this is not a mug question. You don't need to know where the punctuation goes. They're going to fix that up for you. I'm assuming we fixed up the punctuation to make these right, right? What would we lose if we got rid of this? All right, so we'd probably have to change up the commas and whatever, but we don't have to worry about the commas. They're going to do that for us. And this is a question that's very different than what we've looked at before because they're asking, what if we delete it? What if we take it out? So packed with icebergs, we just pluck it right out. What are we going to lose? I think we need to read the whole sentence to find out. All right. In the United States, little was known about the Arctic. Its nearly frozen seas, packed with icebergs, made boat travel to the area treacherous. All right, so if I took this out, its nearly frozen seas made boat travel to the area treacherous. All right, now I still know that boat travel is treacherous, but maybe I don't know why. I don't know why anymore because I don't have this packed with icebergs. Let's see if any of these answers kind of go with that. So they're long, so I'm going to read like part of the answer or skim the answer and see if I can eliminate any. All right, an indication that the purpose of the expedition was to photograph icebergs? I don't think so, because they're talking about icebergs, yes, but then making travel, boat travel dangerous, not taking pictures of them. So I don't think F makes sense. An explanation of a technique used by seafarers? Wait a minute, there's no technique. So a technique would be like a process, something that they do to make something happen. This isn't telling us, packed with icebergs doesn't give us any sort of technique, right? This is more of a description or maybe an example of something. All right, an example of a particular danger facing people who might have attempted to travel the Arctic by boat. So this is a strong contender because it's talking about travel by boat and an example of the danger. So if we took out packed with icebergs, we might not know why it's treacherous or dangerous. So right now I'm heavy leaning on H, but let's see what J is. A reason most seafaring boats in the 20s weren't equipped to navigate around icebergs. So again, they're talking about icebergs and navigating around them on boats. So I think H and J are good contenders. Which one do you think is correct, H or J? All right, hopefully you said H. It is definitely, if we lost packed with icebergs, we would lose an example of a particular danger that people would face if they were traveling by boat through the Arctic. We would know it was treacherous, but we wouldn't know why. So this gives us an example of why it was dangerous. Okay, scrolling down. All right, here's a type of question you're going to see that looks very different from our mug questions. Number 66 here. See how it's just in a box? So all it is a box with 66 on it. So that tells us when you're done, you get to the bottom or the, of the end of the article, go look at number 66. For the sake of logic and cohesion, sentence 4 should be placed where? All right, so let me draw your attention to how do you know which one is sentence 4? So see these numbers in the brackets? This is sentence number 1. Here's sentence number 2. Here's sentence number 3. Here's sentence number 4. And of course, then here's sentence number 5. And they're asking us, where should we place sentence number 4? So let's read sentence number 4. Now in his late 70s, the beekeeper has expanded his project to 5 hives. All right, I don't know what's important and what's not yet, but I do notice right away it says now, so I know it's present tense. He has 5 hives, so keep that in mind in case in another place he has more or fewer. Um, he's in his 70s. All right, so these are some things we know. Where do we want to place it? Before or after sentence number one? So sentence number one is definitely something we want to look at, or after sentence number two. So here's something I noticed right away. Look at sentence number one and two are the first paragraph. So all three of these options, G, H, and J, would move this sentence number four into the first paragraph. So if I can decide if this sentence belongs in this paragraph, I can answer this question pretty quickly. Because if it doesn't, then it needs to stay where it is. But if it does, then I need to dig further and figure out where. So now in his late 70s, all right, Paucton's plans to establish the hive to his home in the countryside fell through. Fell is past tense. And he found himself, found is past tense, looking for a place to temporarily store his purchase. Suggested, past tense. So I'm guessing that this paragraph talks about something that happened in the past, and this paragraph is talking about the present. And since sentence number four is present, I'm going to leave it where it is. Remember, 75 questions, 45 minutes. So you have 36 seconds to answer each of these questions. Now, some of them you'll be able to answer much faster than that, especially the mug ones, but you need to go quickly. So when I see now in this one, but I see past tense all up here, I don't think a now sentence belongs in the past tense. I'm going to take my chances, say F where it is now, and I'm going to move on. And guess what? I'd be right. F is the correct answer. All right, I'm going to skip this one because there's another example of a sentence or of a question similar to it that's much bigger and easier to see right here. All right, question 75 asks about the preceding passage as a whole. So it's going to give you, it actually gives you this in a square, right? You can see it in this one too. See how it's in a square? And so there's, when you look on here, it's really hard to see, but this is a 14. This is question 15. There's no number that correlates up here, which is a different setup than we've had. 75, this would be the last question on the test. Suppose the writer's primary purpose had been to bring attention to a pressing environmental issue that was solved through human ingenuity and perseverance. Would this essay accomplish that purpose? So here, I just want to point out something first. Notice two of the answers start with yes and two of the answers start with no. So this is a two-part question, really. First, you need to answer yes or no. Does the essay accomplish the purpose? Once you've decided yes or no, that breaks it down to two options, and then you can look more closely. So I wouldn't even read these full answers to begin with. I see two are yes, two are no. I'm going to answer that question first. Does the essay bring attention to the pressing environmental issue? If it does, then look more closely at the two yes answers and pick an answer. If it does not, look at the two no answers. All right, so without reading the whole thing or at least skimming it, we can't answer this question, but I did want to show you that these almost always have two yeses and two nos. Answer the yes or no first, and then look more deeply at these answers. Remember, time is of the essence. All right, guys, good luck on the ACT. It's coming up pretty soon. If you have any questions or concerns about this or anything else we've been looking at for the ACT, please Google Meet with me. I'd be happy to talk about it with you. Have a great day.